What's the first mistakes you make? What's the very first mistake you'll make besides not doing anything? Have you figured out that's a big mistake? Don't do anything. First big mistake. Okay. Now let's go to the big mistakes when you do it. What's the first big mistake?
Big dog.
You go for the big dog. You go for the A attorneys, the people on the buses, the people on TV, the people on billboards. That's your first big mistake. Okay? What are some other mistakes based on this? Let's look at some of these factors and go, okay, what are some other common mistakes? Just looking at all the factors we're dealing with.
Wrong gateway.
Wrong gateway. Wrong gateway. I just told you the story about that. Guy had 50 attorneys, used the wrong gateway. Do you know how much money he lost? Do you know how much potential money he lost when he gave a presentation to 50 attorneys and used the wrong gateway? Do you know how much money he lost? I went to my knees. I'm like, I was sure. It like took my breath away. I was like, I couldn't believe it. He was set for life. That one presentation would have set him for life. And what was the other thing I told you he did in that didn't do? It was a clinical presentation. He didn't do any sales at all. He did no sales at all. When I say sales, what do I mean? What's the sales formula? He didn't establish need at all. At all. At all. Didn't go into any service factors at all. He gave a clinical presentation of how chiropractic helps a disc. And when did I say they're going to care? When did I say attorneys are going to care about how you help patients? No. When you care about what? How to write a legal brief. That's when they'll care about what you do. Who in here cares about how to write a legal brief? Do you understand how it's oil and water? Just because you think one way and you have an interest one way, do you not understand that that's not how your market thinks and that's not where their interests are? Okay? Chiropractors don't get that. Why? Because what have we been taught in chiropractic? What's everything you've been taught with marketing and chiropractic? What's the theme of chiropractic? Push your belief system. Push your belief system on everybody, called a subluxation. Push your belief system. That's how you've been taught. That is not how marketing goes. Unless you want 8% utilization, 67% negative name recognition after 120 years. Okay. What else are some major mistakes you'd make? A attorneys, gateways. What's a real common one here with geographics and radius of draw? You'll market to attorneys who don't have clients in your backyard because you didn't reverse engineer the marketing to get your attorney list. I can't tell you how frustrating that is. You go and sell an attorney, right? You do a great job. You sell the attorney, and he has no clients in your backyard. That is frustrating. So it's a waste of time. We talked about the USPs, vehicle of delivery. What's the most effective vehicle delivery? Postcard? Postcard? Letter? Be in front of them. Be in front of them. And why is it easy to be in front of them? Because it's a low volume proposition. How many attorneys are we talking about? Less than 20. Less than 20. How many attorneys did I tell you it takes to increase your business $100,000? You only need 16 on a list. 16 on a list. 70% of them will schedule the appointment with the process we give you. 30% won't. Can I tell you why they won't? Life happens, man. Stuff happens. Maybe they don't like you. Right? Stuff happens. Am I going to let that stop me? Stuff happens. Next. Right? So that gives you 12. You'll schedule, out of 12, you schedule the appointments. What I say is going to happen 50% of the time. They're going to reschedule within 48 hours of that appointment. Who's found that to be true? That appointments are regularly rescheduled with attorneys? Happens all the time. You know what you should do? Take it personal and quit. Right? Take it personal and quit. then file for unemployment. That's what you should do. No, reschedule them. Reschedule them. And then the ones that do, the 50% that do, show up, do the presentation. And what I say, if you follow the presentation, what I say is going to happen 50% of the time. You're going to get a referral, one or more referrals on the spot. But what's the number one mistake you're going to make in that presentation? In that sales presentation? What's the number one mistake you're going to do? You're not going to establish need. And what part of need? The pain part. Why? Why will you not do it? Because it's confrontational and you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. And that's exactly what gets the referral. The very thing you don't want to do is the very thing that gets the referral. If they're happy, when that meeting's over, you can be guaranteed you're not getting a referral. That's like I told one guy said, he gave a little presentation. He goes, I think it went well. He was happy with it. Guess what? As soon as he said he was happy with it, guess what I knew immediately would happen? That was a crap presentation. That was a crap sales presentation. He should not be happy with it. Okay? Let me give you a little example. You guys went through all of yesterday. To a large degree, you went from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. Remember we talked about the stages of learning? Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, unconscious competence, right? And I told you the difference between getting from unconscious competence to conscious incompetence is books, seminars, and tapes. And what else did we say? When you're in a state of unconscious competence, you know about something, but you don't have the skill to do anything about it. And then usually rejection takes over, fear of failure and rejection takes over, and you never do what? You never take the steps to overcome that to get to conscious competence. How many times does this happen in our lives in all different types of categories? Right? If it didn't, how many people would just be living their dreams? Everybody would be. What's the number one inhibitor that retracts us from going from conscious incompetence to conscious competence? What's the number one natural inhibitor? Yeah, but what it's deeper than that. What creates the fear of failure? Yeah, rejection and fear of failure, that's totally true, but what creates fear of rejection, fear of failure? No. The second highest need in life. The second highest need in life. The second highest need in life is called security. The very thing that you don't have is a very good motivator to get you to get security. But soon as you have security, guess what now is working like a bitch against you? Security. That's why you have fear of failure, fear of rejection. There are natural, innate human issues that inhibit people. Those are protective mechanisms, aren't they? Those are life protective mechanisms. And that's why it's so hard to go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence when you're at a position of security to some degree. The people who aren't secure, who don't have good, that's why I say the people that's easiest for me to work with, he's not easy to work with, he's not easy to work with. Why? They're fat and happy. They're fat and happy. She's hungry as hell. She's hungry as hell. She's not making $100,000 a year. She doesn't live in a big house. She's new at this. She's new at this. So she's way more willing to do things than they are, because where they're at in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you understand this? This is human nature. He's hungry. Why is he hungry? She's hungry. Because they're still trying to establish security. Is that not right? They already have it. And that's the bad thing about when you have security. It becomes one tremendous inhibitor. Tremendous inhibitor. There's ways of overcoming it, but it is a tremendous inhibitor. Give me somebody who has a problem, who are struggling, and I'll help that person 10 times more than somebody who's fat and happy and secure. They'll pick and choose, do what they want, not even participate. You see how that works? Okay? Now, back to these mistakes. The analogy that I was giving you relative to this is we said that I kind of went off on a tangent there a little bit. But the analogy that I was trying to give across to you is you guys that have been here yesterday, you've gone from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, right? A lot of you guys are new guys, right? Okay? And it's the end of it today. You guys that just picked up the seminars, it's over today. Seminars are over. There's no more training. How are you starting to feel about that right about now? All this material, there's no support. You just picked the seminars. It's over. There's no training. Good luck. Do you get my point? Training is what gets you from conscious incompetence, to conscious competence. He joined. How long did you join before you actually became a client? You just did the seminars. You just did them for like 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 months. Started seeing stuff, right? Went from unconscious competence to conscious. So you started seeing everything you didn't know, but the potential that was there, right? And you see what you didn't have, right? In other words, what happened to his pain? It started going up. He goes, oh shit, I don't have all this stuff. And what did he do? He was smart enough to do what? Boom, joined. Pulled the trigger, joined. 6 months ago. What happened to his income in the last 6 months that we just found out yesterday? How much did it go up in the last 6 months? 600,000, 400,000, 200 for him, 200 for his other doctor. $400,000 just went up. Would you have ever done that if you just came to a seminar and walked away? Never. That's the difference it makes. Now, how does this relate to, that's a big mistake, in other words, what I'm saying. It's a big mistake just to hear about something. It's a big mistake. A lot of guys do that. They'll hear it, they'll never act on it because they never get trained. They'll never get trained. And what they don't realize, they think it costs more. They're not willing to cost. What they don't realize is how much money they lost. How much money they lost by not doing that activity is pittance compared to the cost. That's a natural law, by the way. You'll always pay more naturally than paying physically. You will always pay more. Not just monetarily, but in quality of lifestyle. Quality of lifestyle. How much money did I lose before I knew how to run a practice successfully? I told you my story. I calculated how much money I lost when I graduated by failing, not doing well, and associated before I was trained and I knew how to be successful in practice. You know how much money I lost? I lost $400,000. You think I'd have been willing to pay somebody $400,000 to not go through that hell? And you know how many people never learn how to run a successful practice? When I say successful practice, what am I talking about? Maximizing your time for money. There's so many chiropractors that are seeing 80 visits a week, 100 visits a week. Half the time, they're not even busy. They're on Facebook because they don't know how to maximize that time. They don't know marketing. They don't know patient retention. They don't know management. So they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but they don't want to pay a few $100s a month to learn how to not lose hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and change the quality of their life. Is that not right? That's exactly what happens. Now, relative to the attorney, there's going to be different types of attorneys. I told you you're going to be best positioned with the C attorney. But there's still different degrees of need where the attorneys are, also relative to where your skill. Some attorneys, I'll give you an example. This is a really good example because it's Pareto's Law. If you just go by Pareto's Law, let's go to the C attorneys, okay? You know, 10% of them are going to be just unbelievably easy and have a higher need and have a higher probability fast. 10% of them are going to have little lower need, lower awareness, okay? I'm talking about whether it's a C attorney, B attorney, but I'm going to the C attorneys. But by the way, the same exists for the B attorneys, same exists for the A attorneys. But I'm just saying, let's go to the best potential market, the C attorney, okay? Well, are all of them going to be the same in their perceived need? No. 10% of them will have real high need. What does that mean to you and your skill level? You don't need much skill for that. 10% of them are going to have very low need on the skill need level. Well, what's that mean for your skill level? It's got to be better. 80% of them are just kind of normal. So every now and then you'll walk in and hit an attorney, not just with your below average skill level, and it'll work. It'll be like, yeah, he gives me referrals. He calls. I'm like, whoa. And then there will be another person that it'll kind of work, but you won't get a referral on the spot. You got to do what? You got to follow up. Because he needs a little more. How many of you guys saw my videos on the internet? How many of you guys saw one of my videos, picked up the phone and called me and bought? One video. One. Your first one. One and only one. How many? What's my point? Guess what, the attorney? Yeah, guess what's going to... So this does work well, but my point is that you have to build. You have to stair step. It's not a one-shot proposition. I mean, you have a much better chance with a C attorney starting with, and definitely a better chance if there's a higher needs attorney, definitely. But how many times do you buy something that you've never heard of before when you only hear it for the first time? Then why do you expect them to? Do you get my point? Stop acting like it. Chiropractors go, well, he didn't do this. I say, well, do you do that as a consumer? No. Then why the hell should he? You get my point? So just think about yourself as a consumer. Not everybody circles around your butt. For you to be successful, what do you got to do? You got to circle around his butt. You got to help him. You got to support him. You got to help his business. It's all about his business first, not yours. And that's what gets you the business, the byproduct of helping him. It's not about you. And that's the shitty attitude you go in with. Me, me, me. It's all about going in and giving and delivering, supporting and helping and re-supporting and re-helping. And that's exactly how you get referrals every day, isn't it? That's what you do to the attorneys.